From my own experience, I have felt how much more powerful I become when I'm not spilling my seed, so
Mhm.
to say, carelessly, right? Like when I go a month where I like there's no porn, there's no masturbation, and even when I'm with my girlfriend, we end up doing tantra
Yeah.
and kareza, and so I don't even have an orgasm during sex the vast majority of the time. And when I do that for an extended time, I become much more powerful. I
Mm.
become ridiculously more motivated, mentally clear, confident, outgoing, uh, calm, understanding.
Mhm.
I'm more willing to have difficult conversations and to just
Mm.
speak my mind and to carve my path through the world, and not be pushed around by circumstances, but
Mm.
instead like make circumstances what I want them to be. I feel like I'm able to cut into the world and create my life at a higher level
Mm.
when I'm retaining. And
Mhm.
for people who might not be familiar, this is a practice that is called semen retention. It doesn't have the most like beautiful name or whatever. It sounds kind of funny,
Yeah,
and for
there's some
short, we
marketing
just like to
elements we
call it
need to get
retaining.
around there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. But it is real, and the good news is that you don't have to believe anything I'm saying.
Mhm. Mhm.
All you have to do is try not busting a nut for a couple weeks and see how you feel and pay attention to how you feel. And
Yeah.
then you'll kind of find out for yourself. So like I'm not some preacher. This is not part of my marketing message. It's not part of what I share on Twitter most of the time. Um, but when I start talking to people in more private, I tell everyone the same thing. Like just give it a try.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
see.
And I really like how you frame that, and I think I think the more I would definitely agree with you in the sense that it's just something that I feel a man has to explore at his own interval. There's never going to be a point in time where and I'm never going to try to convince you. I just share my experiences with what has similarly given me success in my life, and all my major strides forward in my life have been preceded by I wouldn't just say sexual continence. I think it definitely has a role to play, but just living like an ascetic, just living very, very minimalistic, fasting, reading, cutting out social media, and just living very, very simply. All big leaps forwards have been preceded by long bouts of that kind of lifestyle. And we live in Western culture. Actually, you don't live in Western culture anymore. Well, actually, you're in Mexico, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, in Mexico, I
Bay
think
Area.
it would still count. It's a little bit of a gray area because they're
Yeah,
slightly less advanced with the
yeah,
technology. But
yeah. But essentially, I feel like lost my train of thought there. But I was thinking just in the terms of I'm not trying to convince everybody. I think it's a point in time where you as a man need to explore um at least one
and you were
time in your
saying
life.
how your like most of your big breakthroughs have been preceded by this kind of ascetic lifestyle.
For sure, for sure. And there's something about the way I like to think about it is just energy allocation, but like just in simplest forms. Like if again, I'm not trying to convince you, but just an easy way to think about it in a Western lens, in a more logical and rational sense, is that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So in that kind of sense, what you have to understand is you're constantly just where your attention is going, you're kind of giving your energy. And if you're constantly I like to call it casting votes. So like when you buy a pizza, you're casting a vote for the kind of lifestyle of an individual who eats a lot of pizza, right? Again, no judgment here. It's just a vote that you cast. At the end of the day, you want to be casting more votes in the direction of the man that you want to become, hopefully, right? And when I'm no longer casting votes in habits and actions that can be considered instant gratification, cheap dopamine, I think you were put, Devin,
Yeah.
is you begin to lose the voting capacity you have for other things. And once you
Yes.
reclaim all of those votes, you can start going, Jesus, I've got 6 or 7 other votes here that I can go into, like meditation, I can go into business, I can go into entrepreneurship, I can go to reading. Like you really start to feel physically that you have more energy and more capacity to do things that you've always wanted to. So now there's no excuse. Now
Yeah.
there's no excuse. And that's why I'm really, really passionate about this idea that if you have big aspirations and you're seeing all these barriers in terms of maybe the money that you might need to start a business, right? How can I achieve that? It starts by just looking at what you have now. What do you have now?
Yeah.
Are you wasting hours and hours of the day into these kind of cheap dopamine pursuits? If so, that's something that you can reclaim. You can add. That's a money you can invest. You can look at about it
Yeah.
that way. And
Yeah.
that's
And
exactly why I'm in the position I am now, is I've just looked at what I've got and think, right, it's stupid me putting all these investments into these things. Let me just bring that back here and go, right, let's do some reading and meditation here, some writing. And it doesn't
yeah.
doesn't work out too badly.